Hi, this is Daniel from Raunow Consulting. Today we're going to again pick up where we left off last time, and I'm going to show you how to actually run our Azure function in a Docker container. To recap what we did the last two times, first I showed you how you can use the Python Selenium package to actually do some simple web scraping. We used the data that we scraped off the internet to build a simple Power BI report. And after that, we saw that we could not refresh the data in our report, so the solution to that was to actually run our Selenium package as part of an Azure function. That's what we did in the last tutorial. I showed you how to actually incorporate that into an Azure function, and today I'm going to show you how to run that Azure function in a Docker container. Now, to very briefly explain what a Docker container is, it's like a very small environment where you can run a limited set of applications. You can kind of think of it as a sort of mini virtual machine, although in contrast to virtual machines, for virtual machines you would have the hypervisor that actually distributes the compute resources that you're using. When it comes to Docker containers, we're actually using a baseline operating system that's actually allowing us to run our application sets in separate containers. If you want to know more about Docker containers, please do look up some more detail about them, because they're actually a pretty interesting functionality. So to start off, today we're going to see what modifications and what stuff we need to add to actually make this work. First of all, we're going to have to add some code into our Docker file. This is the one that we just left empty the last time. So you see here, we're actually using a base image for Python 3.1. We're also adding some extra dependencies that we will need to run this. And the really important part is installing the Chrome browser and the Chrome driver. Now, if we go to the driver page here, you can see that the latest release for the Chrome driver is major version 114. So we're actually going to need a browser that matches this version. And bear in mind, we're going to be running on an Ubuntu operating system, so these are the versions that we need to check. I have here the page open, and we can see that the latest version is this one, which we have installed here, and we're also making sure that the driver version actually matches the browser version. We also have to copy our code into the container, and also very importantly to actually run our requirements.txt file to actually install the Selenium package and whatever else we need. I also have a PowerShell file here. This is what we're going to use to actually build the container. We're going to fill these out in a moment. We have two variables with basically, we're going to use Azure Container Registries for this. I didn't mention that. And we need the Azure Container Registry. We're going to give a name to the image, and then we're going to log into the container registry, build the image, and then push that image into the registry. Also, very important for this, make sure that you have a version of Docker running. You can see that I have it here. It's already open and running. So to start off, yes, one more thing. We also made some modifications to our function app. Namely, we had to add some options for the driver. Basically, we're going to have to add a user agent. This is kind of telling the Chrome browser what exactly is the process that's actually running it. And we also have a couple of more options. We're running headless, as in we're not opening the browser windows. We're running it as no sandbox. Now, this is a functionality of the Chrome browser that doesn't allow individual tabs to actually interact with each other. It's a security feature that's actually quite important, but here we're just going to disable it, especially since it doesn't seem to work with it enabled. and we shouldn't have that many security issues while running this in a container. We're also going to use this option of disabling dev SHM usage. This is basically just to improve performance, also specifying a window size, and of course we have the user agent defined here, and this is how we're specifying what user agent to use. We also have some basic logging here in case something goes wrong. One more small modification that I've made here, I've changed the orientation of the JSON output from columns to table. This is actually a much simpler output that we can process in Power BI. So now to get started, I'm going to go into the Azure portal, container registries, and we're going to create a new registry. I can just use King West Europe. We can use the basic plan. Just go ahead to review and create. This shouldn't take very long. Just wait for this to deploy. And now we can go to the resource, and we'll go to access keys, and we will enable the admin user. And now our login server, this is what we will use in our file. We're going to give the name of this, we're going to give the image a name, say, we're going to have to log in to the ACR, so there we're going to take the admin user, pass this as the user parameter, and also a password here, that the login actually works. Yes, make sure to save this file, and now we can actually run the file. And if we run this, now it's going to start building the image. And after it's built, it's going to push it into the registry. Now this is actually going to take some time, so we'll just skip ahead until when it's done. So our image is done, it's been built and pushed, and if we actually go to our container registry, if we go to the repositories, you can see here that we have our image. Now what we need to do is actually create a function app. We're going to use the same resource group. And we're going to choose container image. Apparently it only wants lowercase letters. I'm going to use the app service plan. Create a new app service plan. We can just use the basic. Creating a new storage. We'll just leave. And we'll configure monitoring, no tags. This should all be fine. So now we can just create, and we can skip ahead to when this deployment is complete. So our deployment is complete. I can just go to the resource, and we'll go to the deployment center and actually use our container image to create our application. We're going to choose Azure Container Registry, And we should find our registry here. We should find our image. We're going to use the latest. We will turn on continuous deployment. Basically, this is actually pretty useful because it means that in case I have to make some changes to the Python code, I won't be able to change the code directly in the function app. I can actually just have this start. I won't be able to change the code directly in the function app, but I can change it in VS Code and then rebuild and push the container once again, and that will automatically update it here in the function app. Now if we go over to logs, we should get a log showing us the process of our deployment. And finally, it looks like it is done. You can see here the log message, initialized successfully and is ready to serve requests. And if we go to the overview, if we try to click on this link, it seems to be up and running. So now what we're going to do, actually see that it works. We're going to use a web source in Power BI. Just need to copy this URL and add API slash, and the call name is the one that we actually defined here as the root in our function. I'm going to do this. Also remember that our authentication is anonymous. Technically we shouldn't actually use anonymous. We should use something a little more elaborate, but here we're just going to keep things simple. Maybe we'll address this issue in a future video. So now if I connect, and as you can see, we have our data here. Do a transformation. For some reason my output doesn't look exactly as I would like it to, but we will have to make do with this for now, and just close and apply. Okay, and let's just use a simple card visual for demonstration purposes. Right, you can save this report. Okay. Just publish it to the service on my workspace. And now if we go to the service, let's refresh this page. I should have my report here. And I can try to refresh now. Yes, it's going to give me an error. Yeah, there's something that it really doesn't like about the credentials. We're actually going to have to go into the settings and set them up manually. Edit credentials, authentication. You can just use organizational here. Okay, data source is updated. Seems to be doing fine. So now if I go back and try to refresh again, as you can see, the refresh is working. Now if we give it a little time, it should actually show the latest refresh for when it completed. And as you can see, the refresh was successful, 1554. And if I view the report, it's still displaying. Of course, the data hasn't changed, but for all intents and purposes, it's working as expected. So that's the end of our very long foray into actually using web scraping for Power BI reports. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'll see you on the next video.